So as a real estate agent, you're probably spending a lot of your time working at home. Maybe even spend all your time working at home when you're not out actually at a house, a showing, an open house, things like that. All your office work is done actually in your home. In those cases, and in any case, as long as you have an office in the home, you can take what's called the home office deduction, so you can save some money on your taxes. This is just taking a portion of the expenses of your home, essentially, and putting them as a business expense to deduct against that commission income you have. So let's talk about who qualifies. Well, pretty much any real estate agent is going to qualify because you have to be self-employed. In most real estate agents, you're going to get a 1099. That makes you self-employed, and so you qualify for that. Who doesn't really qualify? Essentially is employees. If you're an employee, this is not a deduction you get to take. This is a deduction for actual businesses and those self-employed in particular. The other thing you need to have in order to qualify it is actually a dedicated space for that home office. And what does that really mean? Well, you have to have a space that's used 100% for office activities and not used for other activities. A big example of that is, of course, going to be your kitchen table. A lot of people work at the kitchen table when they're at home for various reasons. It's convenient, it's the center of the house, whatever, like that. That is not a home office under the definitions the IRS gives us. And that's because it has another use, and that's being a kitchen table. Whether you actually eat there or not, it doesn't matter with the rules of the IRS. It is a kitchen table. It's part of the kitchen. It has a dual purpose. Therefore, it's not qualified for the home office deduction. You have to have a space dedicated solely for that purpose. Now, that being said, I've got some notes here. If I keep looking down, sorry about that. But that being said, you don't have to use the entire space as your home office. If you have a corner of a room that is dedicated for the home office space, then that area of the room can be counted for the home office purposes, not that entire room. So a lot of times, especially in apartments, you have a little desk cubby area. The area of that desk and surrounding around it could be the home office, and it might be in the middle of your living room. So you just get that portion that is dedicated to the home office. Now, what do you get to deduct? Well, if you're renting, you get to deduct a portion of your actual rent payment. If you own the house, you get to deduct a portion of the mortgage, but not the principal portion. It's the portion that goes towards taxes, interest, and insurance. Those things get deducted as well. Of course, any of your utilities, your gas, your electric, water, any sort of city bill, any of those recurring bills that you have because you own the house, then a portion of that gets to be deducted. And repairs and maintenance get deducted, and you can do this one of two ways. You can do it if it's repairs or maintenance or something done to the office space exclusively, like if you were to paint your office, for instance, and that's all you're painting, then that would be deductible 100%. If you're painting the entire house, then you would have to prorate it as well. And so we take the square footage, I mentioned prorated, and let's talk about the portion that we get. Whatever area you determine is 100% for that home office purposes, we take that square footage, we divide it by your entire square footage of the entire house so that we get the percentage of your home that is dedicated to the home office. And with that, we can apply that percentage to all these expenses that we get in whole. Our interest for the year, our insurance, the taxes, all those things I talked about, all our bills as well, and any repairs and maintenance we do to the house in total, that gets prorated as well. If we can identify it specifically just for the office, then we can claim it 100% towards the office. Now, That is a typical way. I'm going to look at my notes again. That's a typical way we want to do it. There is a simplified method we can do it, similar if you're familiar with the vehicle deductions. There's a simplified way where we take that square footage, the same square footage we calculated out earlier, that is our 100% dedicated home office space, and we can apply a rate that the IRS gives us against that square footage, and that is what they call the simplified method. Typically, that's not as good of a deduction as what you get when you take the actual expenses, but it is, as the name suggests, a simplified way to go about doing this calculation. Typically, like I mentioned, recommend going the full thing. Common mistakes we get when we try to take this deduction. Number one, we're taking, as I mentioned earlier, we're taking a space that doubles as another room. So we've got exercise bike in our office. Then that portion of at least that office cannot be claimed as a home office deduction. Same if you have a bedroom with a desk in it, we need to separate out that area and not use that full room. Forgetting to include some of those utilities. Any utility that you need to pay as part of owning and operating your house, then those can be prorated and claimed on this home office deduction. The biggest mistake, though, is people saying, oh, that is an audit risk, I don't want to do it. Well, the fact of the matter is there's nothing to justify that this is in fact an audit risk. There's no evidence that this gets audited more than anything else. And in fact, it is explicitly detailed in the Internal Revenue Code, which means you're fully entitled to do it. Where the fear is people don't do this correctly. So if you don't do it correctly and you do get audited, then there may be some issues and adjustments we need to make on your tax return there. But just the fact that you're doing something that the IRS allows you to do does not inherently by itself make it an audit risk. The risk is certainly there that you're not doing it correctly. So as long as you do it correctly, you shouldn't have any sort of issue when it comes to audit. You're not it's not a red flag, and you're not going to have any issues if done correctly. Why does this really matter? Well, it can be a very large deduction depending on how much expenses you have in your home, how big your office space is. But no matter what, this is a deduction you get not only on your tax return, but every tax return you have every year. So it may save you a little bit money here, but if you add it through the years, then you certainly can add up to a lot of tax savings over your career as a real estate agent. So it really does allow it. And as I mentioned earlier, this is not some sort of special loophole, some trick with the IRS. It is explicitly detailed in the Internal Revenue Code. In fact, the IRS has a specific form for you to fill out as part of your 1040. And so it's something that you're allowed to do. They give you guidance and they give you a lot of information. So as long as you're doing it correctly, there isn't an issue, as I mentioned earlier. So if you're a real estate agent, you're probably working from home. You want to talk about this, how it relates to you, what qualifies, what doesn't qualify, what expense, anything you want to talk about. Feel free to click the link below, schedule some time. We can sit and talk about it, see how it relates. No obligation involved in that. We can just talk about what you want. If you want the notes of this video and any future video emailed to you, then there's also another link there to get the newsletter. That's all the newsletter is. Maybe an occasional announcement about deadlines or new tax law coming into play that could be relevant to you as a real estate agent, but otherwise it's really just the notes from these videos, and any video I put out in the future, I'll send those to you so you have the notes. You don't have to take notes watching the video or anything like that. That's really all I've got for it. Any other questions, you can also go ahead and leave a comment below. I'll certainly answer those as I can through the comment system. If you're still watching, I do appreciate that. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let YouTube know this is something that's helpful, and it can share it out to others. All right, thanks for watching.